You are now watching the True Mets Talk podcast live stream. We will be going live shortly. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel.
Shallow right field, stumbling start for Stewart. It's close to deep left field by Alvarez. He's homered in 4 straight games for the second time in his. He's homered in 4.
What's up, Mets fans? It's your boy CP, and welcome back to the True Mets Talk day after recap. We have a whole lot to talk about. Before we get into anything, it's a Friday. I want to wish you all a very happy Friday as well. I don't know about you all, but I am literally running around, running errands, and I figured I might as well just do a little live stream to talk about our New York Mets. If my audio sounds off, if there's a lot of echoes, let me know and we'll try this again at some later point. I did leave my microphone elsewhere and I don't have that to utilize right now. So let me know if my audio sounds okay and then we will continue from there. But let's talk about our New York Mets. They won last night 3-2 thanks to a JD Martinez walk-off, and we will get all into that today because honestly, I don't know about you all, the vibes are immaculate. I understand this team is 30-37. We talked about it on the pregame show yesterday between Rob and myself, how crucial last night's victory over the Marlins would be to secure that series victory heading into this Padres series that kicks off tonight. But nonetheless, if you are here, I appreciate everybody in the live chat. Continue to drop your live chat thoughts and comments. I will prop them up. We'll have a conversation per usual. And as always, if you are here, make sure you hit that thumbs up button on the stream. Bottom right-hand corner, make sure you also hit that subscribe button if you're new here, whether you're watching the replay or you're catching it live. I understand it's just about 2 o'clock on a Friday. A lot of people have work. I understand 100%. Let's get to some comments here. We got Carlos Ramos in the chat. Salute to Carlos. LFGM from Robert. Appreciate you. Got Oliver in the chat as well. And I do have a Q&A poll up on this live stream in the live chat. Make sure you all are responding. I am asking you all as Mets fans, even if you're not a Mets fan, please feel free to chime in. Who is the Mets 2024 MVP thus far? It could be someone from the lineup, it could be a bullpen guy, or it could be a starting pitcher. Let me know who you all think is the MVP up until this point. From opening day all the way up until right now on June 14th. Let me know. By the way, before we get into any content from what we saw yesterday and talking about this series win, does my audio sound okay? Please thumbs up in the chat. Sounds good in the chat. Just let me know if my audio is okay because like I said, I don't have my microphone here with me and I always just get nervous with these technical difficulty issues that I somehow always more often than not do experience. Shout out to Carlos. Thank you for letting me know that it sounds good. Everybody else, hopefully it sounds good at any point. If I don't sound good, let me know and then like I said, we will try to figure it out from there. But let's get into yesterday because you know what? That was, I don't even want to say it was a gritty win. It's a lowly Marlins team. Was very disappointed that they dropped game one the way they did. And we talked about it, especially after game one, how they needed to come out with a vengeance in games 2 and 3. And I didn't get a chance to do a post-game live after game 2, but the offensive barrage that ensued with 10 spot put up in game 2 is absolutely awesome. We always talk about the Mets struggling to hit in front of the home crowd. It was Nemo's day off. You had some lineup shakeups. Harrison Bader hitting in the 2 spot, hits a home run. You got what else did we have in that? We got Jeff McNeil starting there in the 8 hole, I believe that day as well, unless I'm getting my days mixed up. But nonetheless, it was a complete lineup shakeup. More often than not, because you had Brandon Nimmo there in the 3 hole that gets the off day, so you automatically had to switch some things around. And they tried the old school version of Pete Alonso in that cleanup spot as well, with JD Martinez hitting 3rd. And I think it really worked out to perfection because of that 10 spot that was put up. Now, like I said, what do I always preach about with this Mets team, especially offensively? It's the word that I always use is consistency. So I knew after game 2, yes, they put up a 10 spot. It was a great win. You had a struggling pitcher in David Peterson, 4 earned runs given up. He weathered the storm and he handed over to the bullpen who did their job. And Daniel Nunez, by the way, I just want to shout out Daniel Nunez. He is absolutely electric, going 2 1/3 innings pitched with 5 strikeouts. We shouted him out during the pregame show yesterday and kind of just talking about the whole Danny Young DFA in order to bring Edwin Diaz back. And we'll get into Mr. Edwin Diaz, Sugar Diaz, here in just a second. But I wanted to see how the Mets followed up in game 3 following that 10 spot performance. And, it was really disappointing for me to see behind Luis Severino, who was battling his ass off. You see down below here, 6 innings pitched, 7 hits given up, only 1 earned run given up, keeping the Mets in the ball game. It was very disheartening for me to see how the offense played out in game 3. But you know what? At this point of the season, when the Mets are hunting for wins, they will take wins any way that they can get them. Keeping it close, good job to Luis Severino. Good job to the bullpen. Keeping it close for your team and for your offense to go out there in the 9th inning and win a ball game, right? With JD Martinez, which is why you brought JD Martinez here in the first place, to do exactly what we saw last night. That was a victory within itself. Now, like I said, I always talk about the process of this team, and I don't like that process. I would have much rather saw better at-bats early on. We talk about a struggling Brandon Nimmo. Obviously, I think at his peak this season, if he even hit his peak this season, was definitely in that leadoff spot. I was a very big proponent of moving him to the 3 hole, which he absolutely looked lost in. And then they tried something new last night and put him in the 2 hole, which I know a lot of people in the comment section right now, and a lot of people that I've been talking to in terms of Mets fans, they've been wanting to put Brandon Nimmo in that 2 hole. Obviously, he takes the over. He did score a run. But again, we always talk about the top of the lineup and maybe those core 3, Lindor, Nimmo, and Alonso. And we've been kind of seeing a different version of Lindor, but especially in this series, the last 2 nights, it was especially last night, taking an over with those 3 guys just is absolutely brutal. And that definitely, if the Mets want to cross the threshold of being a mediocre team, mediocre to bad, over to a good team, those 3 guys need to be a lot more consistent, right? And we've seen Lindor being a lot more consistent, more so than a Pete Alonso and a Brandon Nimmo. But if you get all 3 of those guys clicking at the same page on the same rate with Mr. JD Martinez, that top 4 in the lineup is pretty scary. Now, we always talk about, and I don't like to use these words. I know this is Rob's favorite words to use, is performing to the back of their baseball cards. I haven't said that in a little minute, but that is exactly true. When you take a look at the scenario that you see with Brandon Nimmo and Pete Alonso, they are simply not performing up to expectations. Now, I'm not going to get into this whole Pete Alonso discussion about what's going to happen at the trade deadline versus what's not going to happen. What happens, happens, and we're going to have to live with that when the time comes. But my job right here is to go out there and talk about what we've been seeing here on a consistent basis up until this point on Friday, June 14th. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to just leave you with that little nugget in terms of the lineup and then just move on from there, because I really want to see, regardless if it happens this series or the next series, those guys not named JD Martinez in the top 4 need to consistently perform. And if they don't, doesn't matter how good of pitching you're going to get. You saw it last night. The Mets squeaked by with the win. They're going to lose more ball games than not. So just keep that in mind. Just keep that in mind. Getting into some of the comment section here. Appreciate you, Brad, for letting me know my audio is okay. Guys, this is going to be a very quick stream. I understand it's an afternoon on a Friday. A lot of people are running errands. I have to literally rush out of my house right after this stream. So I appreciate you all being here with me in general right now before I have to dash on out of here. But I figured before our pregame stream later tonight, because Rob and I are going live for the pregame, I might as well come here and talk about sort of my thoughts about this team, the state of the Mets, and what we saw last night heading into this Padres series. But we'll delve into it a lot more in depth on the stream later tonight. So make sure you catch us around 5:45/6 p.m. depending on scheduling. That stream link will be going up here in just a second, as the Amazin Mets podcast pregame show always does. Junior, salute to you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. Darren, as always, channel member, always supporting my streams. Thank you for being here. And yeah, Terens right here, as Oliver's saying, this is probably the find of this season thus far. Now, like I said, I don't know how the rest of the season is going to play out, but what David Stearns did to get Omar Narvaez off this team and to get a competent, and I use that term very heavily because we are not used to using the word competent when it comes to a Mets backup catcher. No disrespect to Tomas Nido, but also has the upside of potentially starting on a different team. Now, I know I'm going a little bit maybe further than I should with Luis Torrens here, but this guy and what he's been able to do the past couple of weeks, not only with the bat, I know he took the 0 for 2, but he's been pretty good with the bat, especially the power aspect of his bat, but his arm and his catching abilities, something Omar Narvaez could never even dream of having within that skill set. So shout out to Luis Torrens. He's absolutely been performing lights out. I want to give him flowers where flowers are due. Sanders is saying there's still hope for the Mets. They just have to have a winning record in June to avert a sell-off. Now, I'm curious, and I should have posed this Q&A in the chat instead I did the MVP Q&A. Please drop your thoughts in the comment section about where you're at in terms of your mindset with the state of this team. Obviously, I propped up a poll to begin this home stretch. That was this one right here. It is still up there. You can go see more or less the final results with just about 40 votes in there about coming into this homestand, how many games this team needed to win to make you all at least either start to believe or keep believing that they could scratch the surface of being a quote unquote playoff team. I know a lot of people are sort of just kind of wait and see, and they're not completely bought in, even if they do go 4-6 or 5-6 in this homestand. And honestly, I can't blame you whatsoever because we are continuously going through a merry-go-round with this team where they play stretches of good baseball, maybe 3 or 4 games, 5 games, although they are, per this stream's title, winners of 6 of their last 8. So maybe a little bit of an extensive stretch here, but then at some point they cool back off and they get back down to earth. So I'm curious, as it pertains to the state of the Mets, where are you all at? Do you believe in this team, knowing that the offense didn't show up for the majority of the part of last night? Because like I said, I'm here to be objective. I call a spade a spade. The offense was ghostly up until the 7th inning. And even in the 7th inning, you saw bases loaded, no outs. I believe even Starling Marte had a 3-0 count in that at bat. And guess what? They come away with 1 run. Marte grounds into a double play, and the Marlins retain the lead heading into the 8th inning. Like, that is an inning where JD Martinez doesn't hit that walk-off in the 9th inning. You're going back to that bottom of the 7th inning and just scratching your head and just pointing out that those innings right there, in a nutshell, are the difference in terms of the results and the production that you get with bases loaded, no outs, from a bad team to a good team. So like I said, I'm kind of teetering right here in the middle with you all. I'm not saying that they are completely lost and that there's no hope, but I'm also saying that there's a lot of things that this team is still doing, even though they've won 6 of their last 8, that make me think, hey, listen, that needs to get cleaned up before I completely go to this side or that side. And that's just the way that I'm going to approach it. That's simply the way that I'm going to approach it. Glass half full, glass half empty. The New York Mets need to show me what they're about. But nonetheless, it is a series win, a much-needed series win versus the Miami Marlins. Obviously, as you all know, in May, the Marlins took the series from the Mets down in Miami, and that left a little bit of a sour taste in my mouth because this is a team that's abysmal. Going into this series, they were winners of 1. They were 1-7 in their last 8. And that's just simply a team that I personally feel like the Mets shouldn't lose to. And they gave them a game in game 1, but a great job to bounce back in game 2 and sort of right the wrong there. So, like I said, you see the lineup though. Over. Really. Like that was a game that more oftentimes than not, the New York Mets lose. And I can't say that if that was a better team in the Marlins, that the Mets wouldn't have lost that game. But nonetheless, the Mets can't control who their opponents are. They're going to be playing a slightly better team coming up here in the San Diego Padres. Haven't really been watching too much Padres baseball. I know that they're in one of those wild card standing spots. I believe they're third, and I know that there's 3 games, I believe, that separates the Mets and the Padres. I don't have the standings completely up in front of me right now, so I can't speak to that to a T. And then obviously you have like 6 or 7 different teams in between the Padres and the Mets with only 3 games separating. So this NL wildcard race is tight. I know a lot of people don't like talking about wild card, but as long as they are in the race, what are we going to come up here and speak about? I've already told you I look for the Mets processes and that they're playing still not adequate enough baseball for my liking. But at the end of the day, they're either good or they're just good enough to stay in this race. And that really is the difference right now. So I'm not trying to sell you all anything. Like I said, hit the live chat with your thoughts and comments. I'm very curious because there's a lot of differences in opinions in the Mets community right now about this Mets team, about the level of optimism that us fans should have versus have regarding this team. And honestly, I can't say that anyone's right or wrong on either side of the fence because of the situation that the Mets are in right now amidst the NL, a very bad NL. So I don't know. Maybe people are fooled. Maybe the Mets are fooling everybody and they're going to come back down to earth. I don't know. Nobody can predict what this team does because, like I said, it's just such a merry-go-round with this team constantly. But like I said, if you all are here, I appreciate you all taking the time out of your busy days on this Friday before we watch some Mets baseball later tonight, before you come back in the live chat, hopefully, and chop it up with Rob and myself when we go on the pregame show, because obviously he's going to give you his insight about what he thought about the 3-2 walk-off victory. And we're going to continue to talk about this Padres series. So keep hitting the live chat, all that good stuff. And as always, make sure you all are checking out the channel memberships. And if you are a member watching this right now, I thoroughly appreciate the support. It does mean a lot. Now, I want to get back up into my Q&A before I go into the next slide. Like I said, I'm about 17 going on 18 minutes onto the stream. It's not going to be a hefty stream. This is not going to be a 40-minute to 45-minute stream. Probably going to cap it off here about 25, 26 minutes. Just wanted to say what's up to everybody and get your guys' thoughts and opinions. But we do have some answers in terms of who the Mets MVP is so far in 2024. Carlos is saying that the Mets MVP has been Luis Severino, the only member of this rotation who deserves to be brought back next season. Amen, Carlos. Amen. Him and Senga, of course. Obviously, Senga's not here. We don't know if we're even going to see Senga at any point this season. The rest, bring them in free agency and prospects coming up. I'm going to leave this comment on here because honestly, I think Carlos nailed this on the head. And before I get to any other comments, I'm just going to say that I think that my MVP so far this season, if it's not Mark Vientos, it has to be Luis Severino, because you look at this rotation and what's behind Luis Severino, obviously outside of Christian Scott, who's another topic right now because he's not eligible to be called back up until tomorrow. He lost 2 starts amidst this send down, and you all know my thoughts and opinions on that. I'm not going to exhaust that, but I definitely agree with you. Luis Severino, as Hector from Washington Heights, who did a great in-game live stream. I encourage you all to go and subscribe to Hector's YouTube channel. Finally stood up, and it's gaining some steam. Make sure you go subscribe. But he always says it, Luis Severino, knowing that Kodai Senga probably isn't on the brink of any return anytime soon, has to be and has been the leader of this rotation and is having an absolutely tremendous bounce back season than what he had last season with the Yankees. So I definitely agree with you here. If I'm not choosing Mark Vientos, right, and his spark with the bat, I'm definitely choosing Luis Severino. So great comment there, Carlos. Oliver saying Mets MVP so far has been Reed Garrett. Obviously, Reed Garrett, I believe, tossed a scoreless frame in that 10-4 victory in game 2. Like I said, I didn't get to catch the tail end of it because I was out and about. It's been a very busy week for me in the midst of a move right now as well. I know Rob went through one earlier this season. Now it's my turn to move places. And I've been kind of preoccupied doing that while trying to keep the content up. So hopefully you all are bearing with me. Apologize about the wonky times, the start times, etc., and the inconsistent content. But we are here, and we're going to continue to be here. Sorry, excuse me. I need some water. It's hard to ramble by myself. All right, so Reed Garrett is Oliver's MVP. I can see where you're coming from. Obviously, a lot of people are going to say that he's tapered off, but I do agree there was a stretch in this bullpen throughout this season, right? That weird stretch where Reed Garrett just seemed to be absolutely dominant, and we were like, who the hell is this version of Reed Garrett? That guy literally carried the bullpen at that time. Yes, he's come back down to earth, but I do believe that Reed Garrett should, in some form or another, be considered for this as well, just because of that importance that he had during that stretch. Now, like I said, hopefully he regains some of that confidence. Hopefully, with Edwin Diaz back being the closer, Reed Garrett gets put into maybe more setup opportunities, although I really think that should belong to Daniel Nunez with the way he's performing right now, or maybe even some seventh inning performances, because I think that's what can get Reed Garrett back on track. But Oliver saying Reed Garrett. Let's see here. Do I have any other answers? Brad shouting at everybody. Appreciate you, Brad. Any other answers here to the MVP? I'm trying to scroll the comment section. There we go. The man himself, part of the Roundtable podcast. Like I said, please go watch the stream that he put up. I was watching it. I did the rewatch for the watch along today, and I just fast forwarded to the walk off, and I knew my man Hector was going to get hyped for that, screaming at the mic. And it was an electric time. So definitely looking forward to doing one of those with you. Hopefully, if I get the invite. If not, we can do a little bit of a roundtable watch along if that's what the people want. But there's the MVP. It's been Carlos Mendoza. That is. You know what? Carlos Mendoza has been holding it down. A lot of opinions floating around about Carlos Mendoza in terms of the actual day-to-day decisions he makes. But I will say, with what he's been given with this team, and not even at the start of the season, but everything that he's been having to deal with injury-wise and everything else in between with this team, people not performing to the back of their baseball cards, like Rob says, he's been doing a hell of a job. So I absolutely agree with you, whether you're joking or not. That's actually a really good comment right there. Carlos Ortiz is saying he agrees with Sevy as the MVP. Oliver backing up Reed, his Reed choice. He was untouchable there for a minute. I absolutely agree with you, 100%. He was absolutely carrying this team. Reed Garrett, according to Darren, was early contender for MVP, but fell off a little bit as well. Absolutely. Yes, I have to shout you out, Hector. Got to get the YouTube off the ground and running. Really glad that you did, because I really think you're going to bring some great content into this Mets content creator scene on YouTube. So I definitely appreciate you being a part of the roundtable and everything else in between as we talk about this team. So like I said, if you all are here, I definitely appreciate you. I got about 4 to 5 minutes left here. We'll talk about this upcoming series and the matchup tonight. Hit that thumbs up if you are here. I thoroughly appreciate it. Thank you so much. Hit the subscribe button, all that good stuff. I appreciate the daily listeners, the consistent listeners. And even if you're here for the first time, if you like what you hear, if you like the content, I always try to keep it a buck. I keep it objective. Hit that subscribe button, because we're slowly but surely starting to head toward that 800 subscriber goal on the channel, which is absolutely amazing. Never thought that it would come this far this quickly. So thank you so much. All right. Just to reinforce the fact that what we saw last night, I'm going to start with JD Martinez. There's really not much to say about JD Martinez. Here are his statistics in 2024 in a nutshell. In 155 at-bats, he's hitting 271. OBP's floating there around 330, just under. The OPS is just under 800 as well, and he's got 6 home runs to his name. I understand that last year he hit 33 home runs in 103, 110 games to the Dodgers. He's not on pace to meet that again this season so far. And like I said, this is in congruency to sort of the discussions that we had with the Mets hitting at home field or lack thereof, or at Citi Field or lack thereof. But he's been an absolute professional hitter. He's been someone that this lineup has definitely needed behind a Pete Alonso or Brandon Nimmo as protection. And he was never, and I'm going to keep reinforcing this point, him at 36, 37 years old was never meant to come into this organization this season and be that guy. That job still belongs to Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, and Pete Alonso as a collective core. JD Martinez was only brought in here to supplement those guys and to add another weapon into the middle of this lineup. And the fact that he's been one of our more consistent hitters doesn't shock me, because I always listen to JD Martinez whenever he goes on MLB Network, or whenever he has been on MLB Network, dissecting his swing. You hear about all the different sort of stories about him setting up his tripod and his phone to film his on-field batting practice. None of that shocks me, because guess what? If I had to choose one hitter in this lineup, and I know Mark Vientos is killing it right now. He's hitting over 300. OPS is above 900. This guy is probably the New York Mets' most consistent hitter. And if they don't sell him off at the deadline, he's going to continue to be that. And that is something that you can depend and rely on him for. Now, like I said, if you're expecting JD Martinez to single-handedly carry your lineup like he did last night in terms of providing that walk-off victory, which, congratulations to him, by the way, was his first walk-off in, I believe, a 13-year career that he has. I'm not sure exactly how long he's been on this league, but it's his first walk-off home run. And I love the little, I guess, post-game interview he did that his friends and his family back home were kind of poking fun at him for it being his first walk-off home run. But yes, he's been absolutely spectacular. I know there's a section of Mets fans that when he was kind of going through a little bit of a skid, especially when he first started out with the Mets after coming up from AAA in that minor league stint with the extended spring training, a lot of Mets fans were like, well, this is not what we signed up for. Well, it takes time. It really does take time. And I was never a proponent of him making that extended spring training anyways in the minor leagues, but I'm glad he did it, because honestly, like I said, if there's anybody that talks about their swing and knows their swing inside out, which I'm sure all these major leaguers do, but to a T, I see the processes from start to finish, from batting practice all the way to game situations. JD Martinez, having done this for so long in his career, is a true pros pro, and it shows on a daily basis. That's all I want to say about JD Martinez. He definitely deserves his flowers and his props. But let's talk about a guy that obviously had a career year in 2022. Unfortunate situation with the World Baseball Classic, injury that he sustained. Edwin Diaz missed the entirety of the 2023 season and got off to a relatively slow start here in 2024. In a season where the Mets, if they need Edwin Diaz to be Edwin Diaz of 2022, it is 100% this season in 2024, with the way the bullpen's looking, with the way the rest of the roster's looking, with quite simply where they're at right now. They need Edwin Diaz to come back with a vengeance, and that's exactly what he did last night. I believe 15 pitches thrown in that ninth inning, held it to a one-run ball game, 0 earned runs given up. We saw Edwin Diaz blow back-to-back saves before he went on the IL with that shoulder impingement. He came back strong. He made that rehab start with, I believe, Single A Brooklyn. And you know what? We can only hope that this continues, because he said, and he stated multiple times, that his confidence has been wavering, especially when he went through that rough stretch. And guess what? He is the winning pitcher of last night's ball game, and he didn't get the save. Understand, I would love for him to have gotten the save to sort of reinforce the idea that, listen, you are that guy. You are the best closer in baseball, and you're getting paid like it, to reinstill that confidence in him. But you know what? They won it for him in the bottom of the ninth inning, and that's what matters. He looked electric, and we can just hope and pray that this is what we're going to see consistently from here on out from Edwin Diaz. Because I want to see this version that's on the screen. I want to see this version of Edwin Diaz getting hype coming off the mound. And great job to Francisco Lindor, by the way, coming up to him after the inning as they're approaching the dugout, putting his arm around him and just telling him, good job. This is exactly what we know you can do, and we're going to be behind you, making those plays in order for you to get these scoreless innings. Great job. I love to see that. You're really starting to see this team come together. And I know that we saw the image of Pete Alonso, and Rob talked about it on the screen in the pregame yesterday, with Lindor with his arm around Alonso after Alonso takes the offer that night. I really think, and obviously Francisco Lindor is the one that called the players meeting, and he's the soul of this team in terms of the glue and being the leader. You see it on a nightly basis. And these two examples with the Lindor going up to Diaz and Lindor going up to Alonso is just the tip of the iceberg. These guys just seem to be a cohesive unit right now. And what struck me also is that Pete Alonso took the over yesterday, but him and DJ Stewart were the two out there with the little Gatorade shower that they gave JD Martinez, carried those big buckets of Gatorade. So I don't know. It's little things that may not matter to the naked eye, and maybe they don't have any significance. Maybe they're not as cohesive as we all are thinking right now, that I think right now. But that just kind of like brings a smile to my face because we talk about this team, especially in 2023, perhaps having a little bit of, I don't want to say locker room issues, but cohesiveness issues. It's good to see that starting to sort of translate and transfer over on the opposite side of things on the field, if that makes sense. I don't know if you all agree with me or not. You're free, feel free to disagree, but that's sort of how I view that. It's very minuscule things like that that I'm like, okay, that could be huge for this team moving forward. And that's a good sign. So that's what I think. Getting into the comments here, we will talk about this Padres series. I will throw this graphic up. Salute to everybody in the chat. Shout out to Sugar Diaz. And shout out to JD Martinez, true professionals right there. Let's see here. I'm trying to read some of the comments here to get caught up. I know there's a lot of comments pouring through. Thumbs up for the stream and sub. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Darren. Of course, I appreciate it. Hopefully, I'm bringing in good content for you all. Hopefully, I'm talking about things that you all want to hear as well. I believe they can grab the third wild card. And honestly, I know Rob tossed up a poll on his channel as well the other day about, do you think this Mets team is a playoff team? And I commented and I voted for yes, because I think at the end of the day, the teams that are right above the New York Mets in that NL wildcard standing, I don't think that it's like a night and day difference of talent level. And I don't think that those teams are far and above beyond better than the Mets. Now, it's up to the Mets to prove me wrong. And I know that I'm taking a slightly optimistic view in that. And I can't believe I'm saying that with everything that's been happening here in 2024 so far, but I can see that vision. So shout out for the comment. And I definitely agree with you. Absolutely. Sanders is saying Flag Day, absolutely, 100%. Let's see here. What else am I missing for the comments? Shout out. Make sure you all are hitting that thumbs up for me. I appreciate you all. What happens when Senga comes back? Now, a lot of people are thinking, a lot of people have a little bit of a negative view on the timetable for return for Kodai Senga. I certainly haven't been thrilled with all the updates that have been coming out regarding Kodai Senga because we keep seeing this timetable for his bullpen sessions or his throwing sessions and his eventual start return date being pushed back. So I don't want to make any sort of assumptions here because we've definitely seen this in years prior where, okay, we think we're getting XYZ guy back at this date and it gets pushed back and, oh, all of a sudden we're not getting him back until September at the very latest if we even get him back. So I don't know what's going to happen when he comes back or if he even comes back, but obviously he's going to have to be slotted in there at a innings limit, right? Or a ramp up sort of pace. So I'm not really sure. Of course, he's still always going to be the ace of this rotation. And Luis Severino is probably going to be that 2. And Christian Scott's going to be your 3. But whenever he comes back, which at this point, it's looking very likely it's going to be post deadline, this rotation with whoever gets shipped off, whether it's Sean Manaea or I don't think Tyler McGill's going anywhere. I don't think David Peterson's going anywhere, but they could. You never know. This rotation could look night and day different. So this is very hard for me to sit here and try to project, especially just not knowing even a time frame of when he may come back. So great question. I don't really have the answer. Salute to you, Carlos. I definitely appreciate you. Thank you so much. DJ Stewart is the new Matt Stairs. I wouldn't go that far. Anyways, we have a lot of things to talk about and to hope for here with this series, right? It's a thing where the San Diego Padres, obviously this is going to be the first meeting between the two teams. You have Sean Manaea going today. This is at Citi Field in front of the home crowd. I am optimistic about this series. And I told you all that I need 4 out of 6 in this homestand between the Marlins and the Padres series. But I look at this matchup here, and I'm not going to lie to you all. I don't know too much about Matt Waldron. I know he's got a 3.76 ERA and he's 4-5, but what does that really tell me in terms of how he's going to approach the Mets bats? I don't know. I didn't have enough time to do my research in terms of what his pitch arsenal is and what his tendencies are. But my main concern here is having to rely on the next two guys that are going in this series for the starting rotation for our New York Mets. And that's Sean Manaea and that's Jose Quintana. It's a big, big worry for me. It's a big worry for me. Sean Manaea started off the season very hot. He started off better than anyone could have hoped for. And he's slowly starting to sort of lose that command that he needs to be a successful pitcher. Now let's call also a spade here. This is a proven contract that he's on. I believe the second or third prove-it-year deal that he's on with a different ball club. So is this the point of the season where Sean Manaea starts to wither out and maybe we're having conversations about him also moving to the bullpen like he got transferred over to with the Giants last season? Or is he going to finally turn it around? Quite simple. The New York Mets and the lefties that they have going in this series, they need to perform. The Padres are also one of those teams that are scrappy and they historically give this Mets team problems. So I'm not really sure. I don't really want to predict anything here, but like I said, I know what's at stake for this Mets team with this series. This Mets team knows what's at stake for this Mets series, and that's just about it. That's really all I can tell you. Lineup hasn't dropped yet. Can't throw a lineup card out there for you all to discuss because we don't have it as far as I'm concerned. I haven't checked Twitter in the meantime since I've been on stream, but that's about it. And notice how I'm going over time here. It's 36 minutes in. I said I'm capping it at 25, 26 minutes because I just ramble on and on and on. But this is a big series. This is a big series. Drop your predictions in the live chat. Let me know in the live chat. What do you all think happens in this series? Is it a sweep for either team? Do the Mets win it? Do the Mets take one of three? Let me know. Because the Mets need to win this series. I know Hector agrees in the chat. I know probably everybody agrees in this chat. At bare minimum, this Mets team needs 4 games in this homestand before they head to Arlington, Texas to play the Texas Rangers. They need it. Quite simple. That's really it. Junior says, in my opinion, the best course of action regarding Pete is offering, give him a low year contract. Oh, you guys are getting into Pete Alonso talk. I haven't been keeping up with the comments here, but I see some Pete Alonso discussions going on. I've exhausted my Pete Alonso, my capacity to talk Pete Alonso right now, and I'm more focused on either the Mets winning a ball game versus not. The Pete Alonso discussions will roll back around. If you want to hear about Pete Alonso, make sure you tune into the pregame stream tonight at 5:45 p.m. because guess what? Talking Mets with Rob is going to bring up. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Is Pete Alonso. I know it. Hector knows it. And even Rob knows it. There's no Talking Mets with Rob without talking Pete Alonso. So I'm going to save the Pete Alonso discussion for that stream. But I won't bring it up first. So if we kind of just skip over it, nobody say anything to remind him of Pete Alonso. Because the Mets have a game to win tonight. And that's what I'm concerned about. That's what I'm concerned about. You want me to keep rambling? All right, I'll keep rambling. No, but seriously, though, I do have to get out of here in about 2 to 3 minutes. I do have some stuff to do before the pregame stream, and I appreciate you all being here. Thank you for allowing me to ramble. 2 or 3 minimum, absolutely 100% is what the Mets need. The Mets bullpen is overworked because the starters don't go past the 5th inning or 6th inning. Luis Severino did, at the most. Also, Nimmo is better suited to bat 7th or 8th. At this rate, he'll strike out over 150 times. Now, you know what? Nimmo definitely has been striking out at a higher rate. He didn't slot in that 3rd hole just like I would have liked him to. I understand all that, but I really do think that he's going to be fine. I'm not going to panic on Mr. Brandon Nimmo. I'm just not. That's all I'm going to say. We can talk about the X's and O's. We can talk about the at-bats that he's taking. We can talk about his chase rate, all that good stuff. But quite simple, I think that Brandon Nimmo is going to come back down to earth, and he's going to be the old Brandon Nimmo that we know and love. I'm not arguing that he doesn't belong maybe lower in the batting order like a 6th or a 7th. I'm not in favor for it, but I'm not going to argue against it. But I'm just saying, and I said on the pregame stream yesterday, the Mets aren't going to change this top four in the lineup. If you want to put any one of those four guys lower in the order, they're not going to do it. And if they do, more power to Carlos Mendoza, and shout out to everybody who's been preaching about it. I don't see it happening. I think that's the one aspect, whether it's David Stearns or Carlos Mendoza, that they will not budge on, for better or for worse. Those top four are going to remain the same. You're saying Rob will be talking about how the Mets are only 3 games. He's not wrong though. The thing is, he's not wrong. And honestly, I try to refrain from that wild card discussion as well. But eventually, when it comes down to like talking final points, that's all it is. It's just 3 games back, regardless of what kind of baseball the Mets have been playing. And I honestly think they've been playing better baseball. They've been playing more sound baseball. Like I said, you don't want a game like last night to go 2-1 into the 9th inning and having to rely on a walk-off. But if it happens, go get the job done. And they did. And somehow, some way, this team has won 6 of their last 8. And that's what's most important to me at the very moment. At the very moment. Hector saying this is a great comment. Every move is not going to work, but Mendoza has a great feel for the team and for the game. I agree. I agree. This is a guy that's a leader. He's respected by the players, which is half the battle in itself, and he makes more or less sound moves. Do they work out and pay off every single time? No. But that's a guy that I can get behind 100%, Hector. You're absolutely right. So yeah, I know people going back and forth talking about Severino in the comments. Carlos saying great points. I've made like 10 points ever since I got back to this chat, so hopefully you agreed with every single one. Although I know that is not always the case for everybody. Not everybody's going to agree, like I said. But we're here to talk about the Mets because we all love this Mets team, obviously. Sorry if I'm not looking in the camera. Just scrolling the comment section because I want to shout everybody out. I appreciate you all. Darren, Junior, Oliver, Hector, Carlos, both Carloses. I appreciate you all. Thank you for being here. Jose, thank you for being here. Sanders, thank you for being here. I appreciate you all. That's probably going to wrap it up for me. Like I said, I don't want to exhaust the San Diego Padres series right now. We'll talk about the X's and O's of it tonight, but I think that at this very point right now, what I will say about it at 2:38 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is that this is a very important series for the New York Mets. I don't want to say it's make or break, but it feels like it's make or break. That's what I'll say. So like I said, I appreciate you all. Hit the thumbs up. Please, if you are in here, if you're on X, come over to the YouTube. Don't be shy. Subscribe to the YouTube and hit that thumbs up. It definitely helps this podcast and these streams grow. I will be trying, like I said a couple streams ago, to go live more often in the afternoons for anyone that's around. But if you all are not and you can't watch it live, catch the replay, hit the thumbs up. It's just the same. As long as you catch it before that night's game is all that matters. You know where to catch me at CPNYSports on X, Instagram, YouTube, all the same handle. I definitely appreciate you all. Let's see what we get from this Mets team tonight. We'll be talking about it 5:45 p.m. on the Amazin Mets pregame show. Be there or be square. Thank you to everyone in the chat making this a fun one. Like I said, I appreciate you all answering the Q&A. We'll be having more Q&As. We'll be having more polls in the live chat. I want to start incorporating that a lot more. And let's hope that Sean Manaea brings his A game. Let's go Mets. Let's win us a ball game. Peace.
Thank you for watching the True Mets Talk podcast. Make sure you're tapping on that notifications button and checking out all the latest content on the channel. Thank you.